Well, hey everybody, you are tuned into Pacific Ocean, Asia. Yes, we are back, and as I promised, we will continue to deliver videos of controversial quality. We've talked about this over and over, not just Pacific, but many. In fact, it's become a beaten dead horse. But it is a fact that feminism is the cancer among us, especially in American culture. Feminism has inundated Canada, the UK, Australia, and it is being exported around the globe. India has had a huge surge towards feminism. I remember reading when I lived in Asia many years ago in a newspaper over there that India women were slapping their husbands. Indian women were turning to lesbianism at an alarming rate. And it's interesting to notice that any country that seems to get addicted to the culture of America, it isn't long before the women start telling their men, we don't need you. India has their version of Hollywood called Bollywood, and it all started out innocently, or so it seemed. The equal rights movement, the equal rights era where women wanted to stop being treated as less than. Women wanted to stop being treated as property. Women wanted the right to vote. And obviously, I'm going to say things that are very controversial in this video, but let me make it very clear that in light of the last several elections for president in this country, in light of the fact that there's a whole lot of people in political office, specifically females, Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters, Hillary Clinton, Dianne Feinstein, and many others, is extreme proof positive of why, in Pacific's opinion and the opinion of many, that women should not be in political office. In fact, one commentator went so far as to say that we never should have gave women the right to vote. And one of the reasons for that is because women tend to think on an emotionally driven logic basis only. Men do tend to have a problem of being too logical and no feeling. But conversely, females tend to be too feelings and very little logic. And I don't envy being a woman. I don't want to go through the monthly cycle called menstruation and all that it entails. The fact that women and men are different has become, what's the word I'm looking for? It's become a standard joke. The volume to understanding men in book form is that thick. The volume to understanding women, part 1, is about 4 feet high. And everybody laughs. Feminism is destructive to any culture. Case in point, I have lived in enough American cities and towns, and after living overseas, I saw the effects of feminism that has been embraced by other cultures. I have seen the effects of our Hollywood culture being consumed by other cultures, and it isn't long. Many men say you get a foreign wife, you bring her to the U.S., it isn't long before she starts picking up on all the bad habits of Western culture. And in many cases, it isn't long until the foreign woman now becomes so westernized that she no longer wants her husband, she wants her own car, her own job, and suddenly she has jumped into the deep end of the feministic, in-your-face American female lifestyle. In virtually every workplace I've worked at that's been dominated by females, 99.9% of the problems inter-employee often are always connected to females. The drama, the allegations, the leading on, and we see this today in American culture. So many women love to lead on men, and when men take the bait, offer a phone number, show an interest, the woman clams up, shuts down, never talks to the guy again. It's almost as if though women have declared war on the man segment of humanity. We've met butch, very male-acting lesbians who are very man-hating. They want to wear a baseball cap. They got sweaty underarms. They talk like a man. They walk like a man. They dress like a man. And you just kind of go, ugh, yuck. And feminism has not made our society better. On the contrary, most women who've embraced feminism are defensive, are angry, are always projecting, are accusatory, always misreading a man's intentions, blowing out of proportion the normal male attributes, demonizing and vilifying a man for simply being male and acting accordingly. There was a video recently that I had seen that showed a woman having a temper tantrum, saying, I'm tired of guys referring to us as girls. And it wasn't a put down like that the woman was arguing that they wanted to get rid of the stereotypes, the gender stereotypes. You know, Pacific will say, yeah, I want to date a hot girl. When I say girl, I don't mean somebody who's underage that, you know, chasing girls. I mean, it's now women are offended at that. If you tell a woman in the workplace, Lisa, that she looks great in her dress, she can go knock on the boss's door or supervisor and say, I feel that this is sexual harassment. Men today in American culture have been slammed by a tsunami of feminism against the wall. In many cases, men no longer know how to act or approach females. And when men do, it is often with trepidation. The irony of today's modern feminism, excuse me, is they boldly state they don't need a man, but yet, in dating site after dating site, you read the modern feminist woman who's looking for a boy toy, and you will find ad after ad, I want a man who's financially secure. I want a man who buys me things and does this. And wait a minute. I thought you wanted to shed the whole 1940s, 1950s image of being submissive. American women oftentimes are not being truthful. They want a man for his wallet. They want a man so that they can sit on their butt and do whatever they want. Except with the following conditions. Don't ever criticize them. Don't ever hold them accountable, and never tell them how they need to improve their skills in a relationship with you. Never do that. Women are not about equality. They're about dominance, and that is in a hypocritical fashion. They want the man to be financially secure even if they are not. And to that I simply tell my male comrades, hold the woman to the same standard. Hey, are you making as much as me? I'm not in debt. Are you in debt? You say you want a man who owns a house. Do you own a house? But instead, American women have descended into the abyss of selfies, Starbucks, complete obsession with dogs and pets, obsession with the superficial. I've read date ads after date ads over the years where a woman has stated, "You better be a lover of dogs." I've read ad after ad of the BBW or the thicker or the a little bit chunky. Now we have the anti-diet club of American females coming out there with a vengeance and an attitude. If you can't accept me, just move on. Why would you even write that in your post? That American women are not that bright is evident in the post that they put. I don't want anybody controlling me, but you had better be financially secure. Why do I need to be financially secure if you don't want anybody controlling you? Why aren't you financially secure? And if you're financially secure and you say in your post you don't need a man, then what's the point of posting this? What are you saying to us? Are you hoping some mousy man will bow to that and go, "Oh yes, I'll let you be whoever you are and I'll buy you whatever you want"? Pretty much. Pacific has been out on enough roads in life, whether good or bad, whether right or wrong, is irrelevant for the production of this video. But in my experiences, I have found that ethnic women abroad tend to be better lovers than the females at home. The females at home have been so elevated on a pedestal that they expect us to do everything, and yet, most men are demonized if they go up and say, "Hey, can I have your phone number?" Don't you dare ask a woman for a phone number unless you got quite a few zeros behind your bottom line. What is going on? America's a sex-saturated society. We are the number one producers of pornography in the world. Men and women pore over pornographic images. And irregardless of what your pastor or your moral code or your religious viewpoint or even non-religious viewpoint is, the facts are the facts. We are an extremely sexualized culture. But after Pacific ventured out into the world in his growing up and experiencing life, I was shocked to find that many of our female culture are not what you would call intimate, loving, warm, sweet lovers. In fact, I'll even go as far as to say, to kick most of the male culture in America right in the shorts with this comment: most American men are not lovers. In fact, I had been married for many years to an American woman, and it was not a good marriage. And in that marriage, Michael had sex. It wasn't until I lived overseas that I actually made love. Not with the American woman, but an Asian few females over there. And some people may think, well, you're being semantical. I really am not. That American bedtime behavior is often not so much about intimacy, it's about getting an orgasm. And I have learned that when you're truly in love with somebody and that somebody's truly in love with you, there are no restraints, there are no bounds, and you throw yourself at each other passionately and sensually and sweetly. Feminism has destroyed that. Feminism has ripped the heart of warmth, love, and spontaneity out of most Western women. We have cold, calculated, matter-of-fact women that are walking around assuming the roles of clinical doctors and clinical psychologists and clinical counselors, and they make their assessment of today's male, and they act as if they know what they're talking about. Women oftentimes in Western culture, because of the cancer of feminism, exude all of the symptoms that show they have the cancer of feminism. Listen to most conversations in the break room among females at work. Oh, I dated this guy. He's so misogynistic, and he's always projecting, and he has such an anger management problem. And wow, where did we come up with all this? Not only do we in America have first world problems, we even have a radio station that talks about, what is your first world problem? Call us or text us today. And you listen to this stuff. And you just have to laugh and go, we really are overly comfortable here, aren't we? While people in other regions of the world are living on less than $1 a day or $2 a day, we're getting mad because the heated seats in our brand new SUV suddenly quit working that morning. The terror of it all. It helps to take a look back. I'm currently reading a book about a gentleman who survived the horrors of being a prisoner of war in a Japanese camp in Japan, who survived floating across the Pacific 47 days in an inflatable raft. I mean, I read this stuff and I think about myself and this generation, how soft we are. Women today that are the proponents of feminism are truly ignorant. They don't believe the facts. They don't look at the fact that the entire infrastructure that they have come to depend on heavily was designed, installed, laid out, built, constructed, fashioned, designed by males. The streets, the traffic lights, the malls, the buildings, the layout of a city, the layout of the roadways, the utility systems, the sewer systems, the electrical system, the Wi-Fi system, that the Apple iPhone was invented by Steve Jobs and males. The automobile was invented and produced by males. That it is men who went to war and defended America against some serious enemies back in the day. To do a corporate collective slap against all males and say boldly, I don't need a man. They forget the fact that their very existence depended on one male's semen. Feminism is a form of immaturity. Feminism is not about equality. Feminism is basically, in my definition, based on many years of observation. Feminism is, I want to do when I want, how I want, with who I want. Don't criticize me. Don't hold me accountable. Don't tell me I'm hypocritical. In other words, feminism is equal to selfishness. No matter what your political view, put that aside for a minute and take a look at Hillary Clinton and ask yourself what she has truly done for American culture that has enhanced everybody's life. Hillary Clinton is on a power trip and a power grab and an ego that doesn't know how to shut itself down. Most feminists are that way. Walk in any downtown city in the United States. Take a look at the women walking by. Admire them. Just look. Most of them, their body language is off-putting. Most of them, if you don't have a big enough wallet, they're going to look at you like you're a chump. When they talk about the word that they're liberated and enlightened, I have to laugh. When the POWs were released from the camps that they were in Japan, they celebrated and had Jubilee. You look at today's modern American woman, I don't see a woman who looks the epitome of free. I see a bound up, uptight, judgmental, harsh, rude, body language off-putting. I see a woman who's enchained to a lie, to a false notion that she's enlightened and liberated. I've met enlightened and liberated people. They smile and they're happy. Their countenance reflects it. American women, I talk to women across the ocean, and the happiness that resides in them trumps anything I've seen in American females. That most American females only seem to be smiling when they're making fun of somebody, putting somebody down, or doing something unkind to somebody. American women now are just as bad behind the wheel as men are. When I was young, females were the better drivers. That is not true today. Fox News had a program some years ago saying that women 19 to 25 were causing lots of accidents because of their texting. Now, let me make it clear, as a professional driver myself, I see men and women playing with their phones behind the wheel all day long. And without taking a big stance on that issue, what part of stupid do you not understand? You're operating a 4,000 or 5,000 pound vehicle and you're playing with your phone. Safety is going to be compromised. There's a very good chance you're not going to see that kid that darted out in front of you, or that pedestrian, as you're whizzing around a corner and playing with your Facebook at the same time. Feminism has not made women better. It has made them bitter. Feminism has not made women better lovers. What it has done, it has just stripped most males of the right to even think in his mind that he could obtain a plain Jane, slender, simple, good-looking woman anymore. That women, because they have looks now, have turned it into a stock market commodity to the highest bidder. And men have been so emasculated by feminist culture that now many men are just happy just to get a date with a less than average girl. Most men, if they want to survive in a relationship in American culture, had better be submissive, not dominant, not outspoken, unless they're outspoken for Hillary Clinton and female rights. I find it interesting that the hypocrisy and the immaturity of modern American women, and they're screaming and yelling for the right to choose, it's my body, and I'll kill my baby if I want to. The hypocrisy of all that is, wait a minute, how about if you don't have sex? Or you wear a condom, or you take birth control instead of getting pregnant to begin with? No, we're not allowed to tell them that. And no matter what people say in American culture, whether you're pro or anti-abortion, the bottom line is when you allow yourself to become so cavalier to the very human being that is within your womb, no wonder American women are so hard, loveless, and devoid of any passion, heart, and warmth. No wonder American women are so sterile and cold. And American women have taken control of things, all right. Now, they take their beauty and they use it as a weapon against us. Oh, they want us to notice. Most American women haven't surpassed that at all. Even if they're not interested in Pacific, they'd sure like it if I glance over at them as their nipples are poking through their soft bra. They want us to notice that. But if you make any advance showing more than that kind of a casual glance interest, up goes the steel wall. You're not my type. Most feminists today are attention whores. Most feminists today think that whatever they're saying on their phone, whatever they're interested in, that moment is so important to the exclusion of everybody and anybody else around them. Duluth, Minnesota years ago, I remember I was shocked when a woman showed up in flannel pajamas head to toe carrying her little dog. My first thought is, wow, we showed up at the airport in our PJs. She was in her late 20s. She had this cute little dog, and I looked at her and I said, cute little dog. Gave me a dirty look, didn't acknowledge me, and I thought, wow, you're a sweetheart. American women don't have manners, by and large. You hold a door open for most women today. If you get a thank you, consider yourself fortunate. I can't tell you how many times I've been in traffic and a woman comes from a side street and the traffic's backed up, or they're trying to get out of a 7-Eleven at a corner where there's no chance of them getting out, and I'll wave them in and they just drive out. They don't even bother to say thank you, because in a feminist culture, we owe it to them. That is our duty. And we must do anything and everything for American women because we are the big, bad, evil male. But how has feminism succeeded in making marriages last? Obviously, that's failing too. 50% of all American marriages end in divorce. And here's something that's interesting. Most of you men already know this, and a few of you thinking women know this as well. Of course, I leave my caveat right at the front door here. Not all Western women are like what I'm describing, but I would say 95.95% are. Confidently. That American women, they don't want you to critique them. But here's what's ironic. American women, in virtually every female I've talked to in my 50 plus years, it's been real eye-opening to find out the data of just simple observation, listening. I talk to a lot of people. I'm a very social person. Many of them have been females. And virtually every female I have met that's been in a relationship with a man, the relationship failed because it was always the man's fault. I mean, it is phenomenal when you think that there's actually something called mathematical perfection when it comes that it's kind of like pi is 3.14. But when you come to American women, they've assumed the mantra of having no inner faults, no deficits, that they're like Jesus, they walk on water. Because if you listen to every American woman that's been through a relationship with a man, it's always his fault. Statistically, is that even a reality as far as truth is concerned? Of course it isn't. Women are not perfect. If women are perfect, let's just do a common deduction. If women don't need men, as they say, why is it they depend on men all the time? When they go to Grease Monkey or Jiffy Lube or to the dealership, I don't see women crawling under those cars, draining the oil and working on them. Every day, a woman in America depends on males, whether they want to admit it or not. If you were to take the males out of America right now, if we were to have an all-female society in America, I promise you that there would be other countries like North Korea with its not-so-lovely leader, Kim Jong-un, would inundate this place and take over in a heartbeat. Women would be unable to defend this country. Sorry. I don't believe in women being in the Marines. I don't believe in women being in combat positions. That's all part of this in your face. I don't want to accept the fact that I'm a lady. In fact, when we define the word lady, it is almost non-existent in today's American society. Women today go out of their way to act like, talk like men. I talked to a female I knew in my workplace yesterday. I said, how did you become so abrasive and rude like you are. She goes, I'm a Leo. And I speak my mind and I don't care what people think. The arrogance and the audacity of such a statement. She's not alone. If a man tries to confront a woman, whether it's his wife, whether it's his girlfriend, whether it's anybody else, just a stranger on the street that cut him off, when it comes to today's liberated, enlightened women, her vicious reaction will show you what she really is, that she's enchained, she's slave to a false view of everything, that their immediate anger and angst comes to the surface right now when they've wronged you, and something as simple as honking at them for slamming on the brakes with no turn signal in front of you in a commercial vehicle, and you gotta be kidding. They don't see what they just did? Of course they don't. But men are to blame. Men are to blame because we spend billions of dollars watching Hollywood movies, and Hollywood pushes the same agenda all the time. The hot blonde, the hot brunette, the big tatas, nipples poking through, dripping wet in the rain, and the man's just standing there, and you, as the movie, on the spectator, and you're cheering, wow, she's hot. The focal point is always right here. That men have been taught that if they just dress right, if they say the right words, if they work the right magic or snake oil, they'll get that woman. That is a lie. That Michael has had to learn over the years. That if a woman's interested in you, you won't have to work so hard. What you have to do, men, is ascertain her motive for being interested in you. Michael has made his own mistakes. Michael has not been good in the past at good, vibrant relational choices with women. I grew up in a dysfunctional home with a domineering mother, a woman who pushed back against her husband, who went to work every day and provided her a very comfortable lifestyle. We're not going to talk about that today. But I've watched him back up and put up with it. I've watched him deny his manhood, and in order to keep the peace, he submitted to her. In fact, I've seen many couples where women are the leader in the home. And you find many men drowning themselves in some addiction or hobby out in the back of the garage just to get away from her. None of them will have the steel balls needed to say, you know what, I'm tired of this. I'm divorcing you. I'm not submitting to this. Goodbye, Felicia. No man wants to be alone. And what really is bothersome is if you think that this ends where Christianity starts, if you go to modern American churches today, feminism is the cancer that has infected a lot of Christian women as well. You hear it in statements like this: I want a godly man. Sounds innocent. You start unpacking that, and you find that they're looking for perfection. Women who have a little more meat on their bones than others. Women that you want to say, you know what? You're kind of heavy. Oh, but God looks at the heart. So do I. And based on the fact you're rationalizing your gluttony, your laziness, tells me that in a relationship we're probably going to have problems. I'm slender. I'm disciplined. I'm busy. You're not. You may have a job. You may have your house. You may have your whatever. Feminism has blinded American women to the truth about themselves. Feminism has taught and empowered women to think that they're automatic psychologists and can psychoanalyze every man. That when a man gets mad at something, the first thing that comes out of their mouth, oh, he has anger management problems. If you want to do a little test, you better put your helmet and your football uniform on because you're going to get it. If you want to test anger management, go up and say, you know, Susie, sometimes your armpits stink, and I notice you don't clean all that stubble under your arms. That's kind of gross, Susie. Or tell her that she's a little bit plump and it's kind of off-putting. Tell her that you don't like the way she chews her food, or tell her that you're sick of her obsession with Starbucks and dogs. And I promise you, you'll see that she also has an anger management problem herself. That women are so immature today that now we have, where I live, we have people with dog paw stickers on the back of their expensive SUVs. And it's interesting to note, they got license plates, adopt a shelter pet with a dog paw between the numbers and the letters on the state license plate, and then the big dog paw sticker. And I think, who would put a dog paw sticker on the back of their car? And everybody's doing it. As if somebody's going to pull up and go, oh my gosh, a dog paw sticker, that is so cool. Nobody. They're making a statement. My God is spelled backwards. It's a dog. I lived in Washington, and I would walk in a park, and I noticed something. Women who are walking their dogs, they'll talk to their dogs, maybe talk to their dogs. They're not going to smile and be nice and talk to you because their dog has replaced the man. And you see in dating sites, if you can't accept my dog, the relationship's not going to work out. And those women are too stupid to get in their minds that what you're saying to the man is that a man is not as important as your animal. And any man that would even venture to go out with you is a fool indeed. He is a desperado, desperately looking to eat nasty crumbs from your disgusting love table when he'll never get love from you, he'll never get warmth from you, but you will be second to his dog. Any man that takes that bait gets what he deserves. No, Pacific believes that the man is the head of the house, and that's been set back a long time ago. That it's okay for the feminists to resort to name-calling and put-downs and generalizing, but when we say anything about them, we're told, don't judge me, don't generalize, don't be chauvinistic, and you don't know me. I have told American women, I do know you. Any of you ever wash dishes? You ever wash dishes after people baked up a storm? You ever seen a muffin pan or a cupcake pan? I'm using an illustration, bear with me, but when you wash each individual countersunk mold for the cupcake, when it burns over and gets stuck in there, even though you put the little cupcake wrappers in, every one of those indents is the same. It's been stamped out in a factory that made muffin tins. Big steel thing come down, muffin tin, muffin tin, muffin tin. Somebody puts it in a box, somebody tapes it up, it heads out on a truck to a store. You go to the store, you can look at 29 boxes of a muffin tin, same brand, every one is going to look the same color, same everything. That's most American women. They've been cookie cutter stamped out in factory fashion by a feminist culture, which has taught them, they don't know you. You're a muffin tin. And they get mad when I say that. If you want to see a truly liberated female, ask them to watch Pacific Ocean Asia without getting angry, without mocking, actually taking to heart what is said. Feminisms stop up their ears. They hear what they want to hear. They surround themselves with the Oprah Winfreys and the Dr. Ruths and all their little female Rosie O'Donnell and all their little television gurus that made way too much money with their little homespun advice And a cottage industry has become $1 billion industry, where today, when it comes to an election now, that people are so stupid that we're going to listen to people like Madonna and Michael Moore, who profited from basically not working, to the entertainment industry and making gargantuan sums of money. That we're going to listen to Kaepernick and others who are going to suddenly decide, hey, you know what, I'm bored with life. Let's stand up against the national anthem. Let's make a ruckus and bring politics into football, even though those white people that you hate and all these people are paying you millions of dollars to play a game. This is all the results of feminism. When you have feminism in politics and you have to always cater to women, nothing constructive is going to come out of it. Feminism is a chain. It is a noose around man's neck. In fact, in Sweden, they're getting all over the place about a man sits down on a public bus, there's nobody next to him, he leans back in the seat and his legs fall open a little bit. They call it manspreading. Now there's some sort of crime with that. It seems that no matter what a man does, you're under the gun, buddy. And you go to the uppy neighborhoods throughout America and you see now the uppy husband is pushing the stroller made by Jeep, a Jeep stroller. And he's pushing the baby while the wife is walking, cell phone in one hand, Starbucks in the other, and walking the dog. And she's, oh yes. And if that man wants that relationship to work, he'll continue to submit and be mommy, baby, boy, and do whatever she tells him to do. But man still has testosterone, and when he gets in his Toyota Sequoia, he drapes his hand with his cheesy button-up professional shirt. And now he's behind the wheel of his SUV, and now he's going to pretend to all of us out there that he's macho and tough as he cuts you off, no turn signals, and you honk, and he goes like this as he's driving away. And you go, what a man. I wish so much to be like that. But he won't mow his own lawn, but he'll hire somebody to do it. Yeah, they need to read this book about World War II. Men have been castrated by feminism. Feminism is destructive to the family. Feminism is destructive to a government. Feminism is destructive in the classroom. In fact, most of the public education system is dominated by females. More women than men become teachers and professors. And if you want to take a lot of university, college degree-based classes, you're going to be required to take women's studies. And a friend of mine years ago told me, in another country she took women's studies. You have to realize that the university curriculum is the same worldwide, for the most part. But women's studies teaches women you don't need a man. Women's studies even goes far as to say that you can find and make love with another woman better than you can a man. It downs males, it dogs males, and it shocks me. Because on every application it says we are an equal opportunity employer. When it comes to feminism and women, they are extremely segregationalist, elitist. Most American women believe they're superior to men. I heard a woman tell me, well, we have breasts and we have a vagina. You guys only have that thing between your legs, implying that they've got more equipment, that they're better than us. Women in America carry themselves. Just the fact that they exist in this world automatically elevates them to a status of goddess. I laugh when modern shrinks today say the problem with people today is a lack of self-esteem. And I said, no, the problem today is too much esteeming of oneself. I see in today's young and old, I see in today's females that they have a higher opinion of themselves than they ought to. That their opinion of themselves is not based in reality or truth. It is based on emotionalism. Facebook has escalated this problem even more, that young girls can sit around taking 99 selfies of themselves and post it on Facebook, and guys slobbering over one little glimpse of their cleavage or their shaven underarm, and the guys are going, oh my gosh, she's hot. Dude, you get in a relationship with that girl, you're going to have nothing but a problem. But they don't see it. And that is where men are deficit. The Bible says that it is not good for man to be alone. That is a fact. And men are demonized for noticing a woman's beauty. And yet women willingly and voluntarily submit to the porn industry. Feminists actually used to decry pornography as exploiting of women. Now today they seem to embrace it. But if a man looks at Susie and says she's beautiful, they don't go for that. Feminism has become so destructive. It is destructive to a person's individual body. No offense, ladies, but women now cover themselves in tattoos and the goofy gauges in their ears, and they got rings and dings and fish hooks and barbs and metal apparatuses sticking out of their face, their nipples, their vagina, their labia, and it's rampant. And they dye their hair. They have a beautiful color, but then they got to add blonde streaks to it and wad it up in a messy bun. And they walk out in their sweatpants and their flannel shirt, and the first thing that I think is, ew, sweaty, gross, didn't shave her underarms, didn't... Yeah. Why do you think there was a song, American Woman, Get Away From Me? The fact is, they're not liberated. They're enslaved to a philosophy that blinds them to the realities of who and what they really are. That just because you have a pair of breasts and a vagina does not automatically make you better. Women complained and yelled about the dominant patriarchy that was oppressing them, and women today have become a dominant matriarchy that is oppressing us. What part of hypocrisy does feminists not understand? Can you imagine having a woman like Hillary at the helm of the United States? She's not a good woman. She is mean. She's on a power-hungry trip. She is part of the establishment. She is corrupt as all get out. Every woman I know that exhibits traits of feminism is not a happy, well-adjusted female. They're cold as ice. They're matter of fact. They get their job, they get their car, they pay their bills, and now they're acting, walking, talking like a man. But I don't need you. But I'm feeling a little loneliness, so I'm going to get on a date site, and I'm going to find some perfect prince for myself. Christian women are not exempt from this. Christian women saying in their date post, I want a godly man. I promise you, if you spend any time with that woman, you will not see her as being any more godly than the males. But it's a lie that they believe. In fact, most American women in the church today believe that Jesus is more on their side than he is on the men's side. How did that happen? Because I have sat in church after church after church, and the pastors who are supposed to deliver all the truth as it is written in the Bible, they're strangely silent when it comes to the behavior and actions of today's women. They might make a brief passing mention of gossip and how they shouldn't do it, but to stand up and say, women, you are never to get up in your husband's face and yell and scream and take him on. You are not to do that. That if you go, and I realize there's atheists listening to me, and atheists bear with me, I'm talking about this from a Bible perspective, that if they would read their Bibles, it tells women that they're supposed to be chaste, gentle, tender, that even if their husband is not a Christian, that they're supposed to be won over by the wife's sweet behavior. Not this in your face, I'm not going to tolerate. And women today are out of control. So even in the Christian faith, women don't believe the very book they claim to adhere to. And they think they're goddesses and they think they're perfect. And they forget that the God they claim to have faith in that died on a cross to save them from their sins, somehow they forgot that they're still sinners saved by grace. And now you have spinsters for Jesus that are 40s, 50s, still looking for the perfect man. When in fact, if you dig a little deeper, and I've talked to some of these women, you find out they have lesbian desires, and they don't want to admit that to the female women in the church. So they give off the image that they're trying to find a man and they can, and the silly women culture that they're with in the church is, wow, she just can't find a good man. There's just no good men out there. In fact, many good men have come and left, but she wasn't interested in any of them. That women, every woman I have known in my life has lied to me is a fact. Why do women tend to lie more than men? I don't know, but they do. When you look at the fact that feminism has made women actually believe that in any relationship that fails, it's always automatically the men's fault, you have to ask yourself, is it actually true that women are perfect and men are not? Remember, we grew up with this long time ago and didn't realize it, guys. My grandma had a wooden carved plaque hanging on the wall of her house. Women's faults are many, but men have only two. Everything they say and everything they do. And the little silly misnomer, girls are sugar and spice and everything nice, and boys are puppy dog's tail and snails. And let me tell you, I've been around the block. Most women are not sugar and spice. That women have managed to create for themselves an identity and a system that allows them to continue to operate on emotionally driven logic, unchecked, unchained, unconfronted, unaccountable, is evident in the behavior of today's American females. They don't have to submit to anybody. They are even taught by women. Don't listen to criticism from anybody. You don't have to listen to that negativity. Don't listen. Don't surround yourself with anybody that makes you feel uncomfortable. Even the Bible says in the last days, people shall heap to themselves teachers having itching ears, hearing what they want to hear. The Bible even says, for the time will come when men will not endure or put up with or tolerate sound doctrine. We have an entire nation of women that don't want to hear the truth, and yet they'll stand up and enunciate that they are believing and teaching truth. I have a book here that is very interesting. This is Julius Faust, Body Language, the Incompatibility of Men and Women. It's a little pocket back, and it was written in 1971. And he even uses terms. The easiest way to answer this question is start with society's definition of a man and a woman. Has anybody noticed that the definitions as we grew up with them has changed? Start paying attention to that. There are basic physical differences, but for many reasons the question goes deeper than these surface appearances. There are men who are masculine on the outside and yet feminine in deeper, more hidden ways. There are also masculine men who are completely homosexual. And are they any less masculine because they are homosexual, or are they more masculine because they relate only to other men and completely reject the world of women? We are often told that more masculine men prefer the company of other men to that of women. The same problems arise when we try to define womanliness. There are masculine women and feminine women. There are women who are only heterosexual and yet are aggressively masculine in all their dealings. Other women who are homosexual are extremely feminine, womanly, delicate, call it what you will. And if you go on in this book, he talks about that the American male has often grown up in a female-dominant society, that boys go to public education and they have a female, and the female comes in to be a class teacher, and she doesn't understand nor tolerate the boys being boys. Boys especially in their young years, they're interested in going on the playground and fighting and throwing sand and playing ball and being competitive. Girls tend to be like, let's fold our legs and let's sit down and learn. Men and boys have been demonized and vilified by a female-dominated teaching staff. You sit down, you can't sit still, there's something wrong with you. And thus, feminism also gave birth to the ADD, the Ritalin generation. There's something wrong with you boys. And boys have grown up with a complex. I did. My mother put me on Ritalin. The reason? Because Pacific was a nuclear reactor as a kid, adopted by this family. Not their DNA, that they failed to take into account. I'm not their DNA. That my mother was Irish, the one who adopted me. Her husband was Norwegian. And people discount that stuff. Well, we're Americans, I get that, but there's things innate in DNA. Go to Norway, you're not going to see people walking around in Norway, hey, how you doing? They tend to be stoic. And everybody knows Irish, they got a temper, they're still fighting each other in a war that never ends. They like potatoes. But you factor in DNA and you factor environment, you factor in basic things like at 4 months, I was taken from my mother. She got rid of me because she was too young and felt she couldn't handle having a kid. And I was thrust into the family that also couldn't handle having Pacific. And all my life, me just being Pacific landed me in hot water. If I talk too much, you're too loud, you're flippity-gibbet, you're hyper, you're this. And I grew up feeling fearful. When I was all the way up into my 30s, I was afraid of my mother. She was a very domineering woman. I felt like, man, I must be allergic. She had told me I had food allergies, and I do. There are some allergies. But then anytime I reacted to anything, react to stimuli, when I was in high school, for instance, and my mother was being totally unreasonable and emotionally driven logic and climbing all over me. Wow, I didn't even do anything. What are you doing this for? And when you hit high school, and parents can convince their kids to believe a lot of BS. We all know that. But when a woman starts convincing you there's something wrong with you, your reaction isn't normal. Women don't understand boys or men. So the way they deal with that is to find a clinical diagnosis, say there's something wrong with you. You need medication. You're right. We're not like girls. Does anybody remember growing up in the 60s and 70s? Has anybody ever taken the time just to look at the fact of toys? How many boys did you see playing with an easy-bake Betty Crocker oven? I don't know any. When boys came into contact with girl toys, it was usually in a very barbaric Neanderthal way. Here, let's put a bunch of sand in the oven. Let's put a bunch of skillets on top of that stove and put some snails in there. Let's take that Tonka Winnebago motorhome with the roof that opens and cram all my sister's Barbies in there so that they're stuffed in there like sardines and send it flying over a cliff. That's what boys like to do with girl toys. Or in the case of me, I took a Barbie and tied a rope around its neck and dragged it all through the neighborhood on my bicycle. Fun. Boys played with Tonka trucks. Boys played sports. Boys were into contact with the world. They liked making sound. Boys are like that. Girls look at boys and go, look at them. They're so stupid. The incompatibility of men and women. And when women dominate a society and they have the reins of the lectern at a university or public school, boys are in trouble. Now we have the proliferation of sissy boys and millennials that get butthurt over everything, and they are the least well-adjusted group ever to enter the stage of humanity. Not all, but many. To show you how significantly times have changed, allow me to show you this. found this on the internet, and it's very apropos to our generation. It's called the Snowflake Report. Date of meltdown, time. What caused the meltdown? Someone posted it. Offensive picture on the internet. Was a tissue needed for the tears? Yes or no? They're little check boxes. Was your safe space available? Yes or no? Do you require man-pawns? Fancy being another gender for a change? Yes or no? I love this. Will you be able to move past it? Reason for filing the report. Check all that apply. I'm an idiot. I'm a crybaby. I am thin-skinned. I'm a little bitch. I want my mommy. I felt picked on. I'm better than everyone else. I'm a prude. It wasn't my joke. No one liked my selfies today. Life just isn't fair. Other, please explain below. Use separate sheet if necessary. I'd like to get a whole box of these and hand them out to a whole generation of people. Again, I'm reading this book on World War II. Do you know that when that man survived all that and he came home, women were throwing their arms around this guy. Women wanted to be with a man like that. Now today, feminism is defecating, urinating on the very idea of a man being macho, tough. That men are supposed to wear the right clothes and be sissified, cross their legs, and don't rock the boat, don't be offensive. Most women I know don't like me because of my voice. In fact, they've told me that. And I've noticed if a feminist comes into the room and I'm talking, I get stares and glares, and I've even heard, I don't like the sound of his voice. I had one woman tell me, how do you get so much authority in your voice? And her tone clearly told me it rattled her. So when you want to do the Clark Kent, put your arm around her and say, well, lady, it's because I'm a man. Feminists don't like an authoritative male. We are demonized. We are clinically diagnosed. Feminism is destructive. Feminism has done a complete role reversal. Now we have little boys in the classroom today coming in dressed in girl clothes saying, I'm a girl. Now we have women. I work with students, and I said to the ladies one day as I dismissed them off of my bus, said, goodbye, ladies. Have a good weekend. I'm not a lady. I'm transgender. Have a good evening. I'm not falling for that pitfall. All of this stuff is a result of feminism. And men allowed this to happen. Men allowed this to gain traction and gain momentum. And now if you try to stand up and take this on, watch out. Rush Limbaugh on his radio program, and I really like to listen to him because he's a voice of reason and truth. Rush Limbaugh stated recently, people are getting so tired of feminism in this culture that they're now buying sex dolls. True story. Me personally, I couldn't do that. I'm not into having sex with a sex doll. But feminism is destructive. Feminism is not positive. It is not productive. It is not pro-family. When we let females control society, the end result is wreckage. And women will accuse me of being chauvinistic. This is my observation based on what I've seen thus far. That a man and a woman both are needed. That one is not superior to the other. But in God's own providence, God created positions. And God created limitations. I have limitations. And let me say something for the record. I know there are women out there that are tougher than me. But they're still a female. The Bible, and a lot of feminists really hate this, the Bible says that the woman is the weaker vessel. That's what God says about it. It also goes on to say that women are supposed to keep their silent in the church. says, for the woman was deceived first. Instead, we have a plethora of female women out there like Joyce Myers. Walks like a man, talks like a man, and has men eating out of her hand while she makes multiple millions of dollars. 2005 or 2004, Joyce Myers pulled in $90 million through her ministry. She lives in a somewhere along the line 32,000 square foot home and owns a property with houses all over it. The woman is filthy rich. And if as a man you stand up in a Christian context, when the Apostle Paul said in the Bible, I do not permit a woman to teach or to have authority over men. And what do we have going on today? We have women bosses. We have women commanding officers in the military. And you have no choice now but to submit to the fact as a man that now you have a boss in leadership and you have to submit to her if you want a job. But women have taken that into the home. You don't have the right to tell me what to do. You don't have the right to order me around. And though there has been abuses of headship throughout history, women are doing the same things they've accused men of. They're abusing their positions. That a man is not allowed to confront or criticize any of the discrepancies and harmful, damaging behavior within the relationship, like your out of control spending. That you're putting your dog. I was married to a woman who put her cat over and above her needs of her husband. I was married for 14 years to a woman who was so obsessive, compulsive about her cat that when we had first married, the cat jumped up on the bed and the cat jumped off and he kept doing this. And I got up to snap on the light. She was giggling about the whole thing, snapped on the light. And I said, the cat and the cat box and the food is going in the bathroom and I'm going to shut the door because I need to get to sleep. I have to get up early for work. She exploded. And for the first year plus of our marriage, the cat dominated everything. You cannot sit down and have a rational discussion with feminists. You cannot sit down and have a rational discussion with an emotionally driven logic woman in any context. The only kind of discussion you're going to have is it goes the way they want it to go. That is not maturity. That is not professionalism. That is not healthy relationships. It is a dominating, I'm going to do this no matter what. It's my way or the highway. And this woman that I was talking to said, I'm a Leo. She said, it's my way, the highway. And of course, everything in my cerebral mind wanted to say, but you know, God could come up against you one day and he will and shut you down. But then the Bible verse says, cast not your pearls before swine came into play. And I thought, you're not going to get anywhere with this woman. She wants to be heard. She doesn't want to listen. She wants to let everybody know how bad ass she thinks she is. And then another woman came up in her presence and they both started saying, well, we're the two bitches. And then they were bragging about, I'm a bitch and I'm proud of it. The woman is my age. The other ones, well, they're both in their 40s. I should say they're close to my age. I got up from the table and I left. I thought, I'm not going to listen to this. They don't want to be a lady. They don't want to be feminine and sweet. I talk to people in Asia, and I'm amazed when I talk to females over there how much sweeter and kinder and loving they are. And I go to my culture here and I think, man, our culture is awful. Feminism is extremely destructive. And I tell the men all the time, give the feminist women exactly what they're doing to us. Don't hold the door open for them. Don't let them into traffic. Don't do it. If you and her go on a date, say, I'll pay for the date this time, you pay for it next time, and watch them get horrified. Do you want equality? Then start living under that. And if you don't want equality, then quit telling us that men this, men that. You didn't pay for the date. You didn't even offer. You didn't hold the door open for me. But Michael Pacific has solved the problem altogether. I don't date a feminist. I may notice her. I may think, wow, she's kind of cute. But I'm not going to go out with her. because I know how long that'll last. About 10 seconds. Just as a woman doesn't want a man ruling over her, Pacific doesn't want a woman ruling over me. I was involved with a woman in Hong Kong, 4 years of involvement, and it took me a long time to wake up to her motives, but she was not interested in Pacific's heart. She was not in love with me, and she had bought into all the Hollywood culture, thinking that all of us were all that rich, and she had, in her mind, developed a viewpoint, and she told me this, so this isn't something I'm pulling out of my hat. She had told me that the man's job is to please his wife and give her all of his paycheck. She told me that. Yeah, you give me all the paycheck. I said, no, I need to see their... Well, in my culture, we do that. I've talked to many other Filipinos, and they said, no, we don't do that. That's her thing. She wanted to be able to do whatever she wanted. She wanted me to fund it all, and she wanted me never to question it. And if she wanted to throw an attitude that day, she was allowed. But if I was to throw an attitude, she'd climb all over me. Feminism is do as I say, not as I do. Feminism complains today about the wage or compensation discrepancy, and I actually have met more women that are making way more money than most men today. In fact, there's a huge amount of them. And a lot of them are graphic artists. They sit at a computer and move a mouse around all day and are making $100,000 a year. I said, you're making $100,000 a year for this? Are you serious? This isn't work. Liberalism and feminism has created an entire industry of nothing jobs that get paid big money, while the grunt hard labor jobs that where you put your life on the line are low paying. I've always found that humorous. And women want to talk about equality? I go into businesses and the person at the front desk is some cleavage sporting woman who's got an attitude and her social skills suck. Her work ethic is terrible, but she got hired because somebody thought her hooters were hot. And I've said it before, if you're a very good-looking woman, you won't have to lift a finger. Some man will swoop you up and he'll give you everything you want. Many men have submitted to feminism. Many men are very comfortable with it. I find it repugnant. And there's also many men that are standing up and saying, I'm not dealing with this anymore. That's why many men have gone overseas. They've taken their retirement, their bank accounts, cashed out, and went overseas, and they said, you know what, I like it over here. I had a video when I lived in Hong Kong many years ago. Western women are destroying themselves, and I won't regurgitate that, but the bottom line is they are. They can't even make themselves look pretty anymore. They wear ugly clothes, they dye their hair, and they don't even dye it right. They got streaks and spots, and they don't put their hair in keys. They don't do justice to themselves. And then they cover themselves in tattoos, and God forbid you stand up and say, you know what, honey, that just doesn't look good on you. You just committed the unpardonable sin. Bottom line of feminism is feminism's basic core philosophy is I want to do whatever I want. Don't you tell me nothing. It's a very immature, it's a childish philosophy to hold to. It is not about equality, it's about dominance. It's about making yourself a philosophy that avoids accountability, that doesn't allow you to be transparent and wide open, where somebody come in and say, you know what, Susan, this attitude of yours is really destructive in the workplace. To me, as a passerby, this isn't positive. Feminists have an attitude, and it's not a pretty one. Pacific doesn't believe in feminism. Feminism, to me, has shown its harmful, far-reaching effects. And Pacific knows there's many bad men out there, but Pacific also knows there's an equal number, if not greater number, of bad women. I tend to lean that there's more bad women out there than there are men. I know many men that are average-looking guys that go to work every day, pay their bills, keep their nose clean, and the women pass them by. I know many plain Jane women that are not all that. They're slender, and they think they're a diva. That selfishness seems to be more innate with women than it does in men. That men will give, men will budge, and men will do anything to get that woman, but that woman will do nothing to get that man. And she will do absolutely nothing to keep him. The American justice system has caught the cancer of feminism as well. In cases of matrimonial disputes, divorce courts, child support, child custody battles, almost always favors females. How is that fair? You have females that are humping guy after guy. They're on their cell phone. They're drama. They don't even spend time with their children, but they want the children. They want the food stamps. They want the child support. And then they'll go out and get pregnant again. And then they'll sit in a workplace complaining that all men are a-holes. And you just look at them and go, really? And there's nothing wrong with you? Nope. Nothing at all. I work in a very dominated culture in my job of women who are exactly as I've just described. They're always asking to borrow money that they never pay back. They go and get tattoos instead of buying the things they need. Feminism is emotionally driven logic, and anytime you operate on emotionally driven logic, you are bound to get yourself backed up against a wall. Did anybody look at Hillary Clinton during the last election, irregardless of what you think about Donald Trump? That's not relevant to this video at this juncture. Hillary Clinton, her body language is offensive. She was mocking, laughing, unprofessional. And when she lost that election, she was nowhere to be found. She was bitter, she hid, she was swearing. Her other people close to her heard her go off on a diatribe of wrath. Hillary Clinton is not interested in making America great. She's interested in dominating and controlling. And the reason Barack Obama was the darling child of so many female Democrats is because Barack Obama is not, in true definition, a man's man. Barack Obama has been affected by feminism. And any male that is affected by feminism and bows down to that is going to be the darling child of today's feminist liberal women. It doesn't matter if you agree with me or not. This is the facts. Feminism is a cancer among us. That most women today behave in a bitch fashion is evident. That in a marriage, you're not going to sit down and have a woman say, you can't go to a female and say, hey, honey, can we talk? We got some problems here. I'm willing to listen to you, but will you listen to me? A woman will only listen to you when it goes the way she wants it to go. But when you start telling her, hey, you're doing these things that are destructive to the relationship. Fight is on, buddy. The immaturity of today's women and their obsession with dogs and pets should steer any man clear of having a desire to any relationship to that. I will go even further, and I've said this before. Women obsessed with Starbucks disgust me. Coffee culture, Starbucks culture. A man who's making billions of dollars catering to the liberal left and the vaginal feminist culture, I have no respect for. That pastors and preachers and ministry leaders don't confront this ugly, nasty cancer at all in the church and say, women, it's been my observation that you're being really hard on the men. Today we're going to talk about you, and we're going to talk about how you're supposed to be in light of Scripture, and we're going to talk about what you cannot do to your husbands. You came to salvation by grace, knowing that you were a sinner, and now you want some perfect male that never sins. Are you kidding? Are you really serious? Yep. I remember seeing so many pictures of women like this. very tiny, itty-bitty, eensy-weensy, yellow polka dot bikini pictures all over their dating profile. And then you read the paragraphs of text. I want a man who's never cheated. I want a man who doesn't look at porn. I want a man who's committed to God and godly principles. Oh yeah, my mind is totally on God right now, babe. Who are these females kidding? That just a cursory observation of that tells me this woman is a slut and she's an attention whore and she knows she's sexy. And instead of showing her godly attributes, she's showing off her shaved armpits and her hot cleavage and her beautiful tan belly. What do you think we're going to be thinking? Wow, I'd like to bonk that girl. And that is also why now women are treated as something to be used and tossed aside. Because women today haven't developed the inner qualities of the heart. They have marketed themselves in 9,000 selfies of how sexy they are, that they've been successful at advertising the product that they're really after to be used. And they blame this on men. That American women can be sleazy and slutty, but all men are pigs. That's feminism. Feminism is the definition of hypocrisy in American society. It is not about equality. It is not about fairness. It is not about justice. It is not about even looking good. Feminism is destructive in every aspect of a female's life that it touches. It is destructive in a church. Joyce Myers doesn't submit to God or the Bible. The Bible's very clear about the role of a woman. She rebels and goes right over that and cashes in her billions. And I'm going to say this again. Whether you're a Christian or not, there's a truth that I think you'll agree with. That people raking in the biggest profits, people that are the most renowned out there, they're not speaking truth. People speaking truth, they're not listened to as much as the big shots like Oprah, Joyce Myers, Joel Osteen, and a host of false, bogus, sleazy TV preachers that are using the ministry as a marketing technique to reap billions of dollars into their own personal wallets with extravagant, over-the-top lifestyles. Benny Hinn rents a $10,000 a night hotel in Europe, complete with an Olympic swimming pool in his bedroom suite. That a man can't look at that and say there's something wrong with this is evident. What does this have to do with feminism? It has a lot to do with it. That even among Christian women, silly women would rather listen to these false prophets than a man who stands up and says feminism has no place in the church. Feminism has no place in a healthy, nurturing society. Feminism has no place in raising children. That's why we have so many teenage bitch girls that wear shirts that ride just under their breast. And they're addicted to their selfies and their cell phone, and they smart off to mom and dad and demand a $900 iPhone while these girls don't give anything in return. That's why in Denver, Colorado, where I reside, that American women, everyone that I've met is a taker and a user, and they suck and suck. Can you give me this? Can you do this for me? I need you to help me pay my bills. And what do they give you? You won't get a massage. You won't get a home cook. You don't get anything but drama and grief. No, feminism has not made things better at all. On the contrary, it has been highly destructive to everything it touches. That's a fact. That's not Pacific's opinion. This is a fact. Stay tuned, everybody. There's more yet coming. This is Pacific signing off.